Welcome, listeners, to another spine-chilling episode of the Ghost Riders podcast, where shadows come to life and the past refuses to rest in peace. I'm your host, and tonight we embark on a journey through the darkest corners of the supernatural. Here on the Ghost Riders podcast, we delve into the tales that make your skin crawl and your heart race, stories of the restless dead, haunted places, and the unknown horrors that lurk just beyond the veil of our reality. As the fog of the ordinary clears, we dive head first into the chilling whispers of the other side. Tonight's episode is no exception. We have meticulously curated a collection of eerie tales that will grip your imagination and leave you questioning the safety of your own shadow. So, dim the lights, pull the covers tight, and prepare yourself for an evening of unsettling stories that will make the hairs on your neck stand on end. Are you ready to face the dark with us? Let's begin our descent into the unknown. For tonight's installment, we have three tales that promise to unsettle and intrigue. From a haunted school to a Victorian detective trying to solve his own death, and finally, a closet with a dark secret. Stay tuned, dear listeners. The darkness beckons, and the tales are about to unfold. The haunting of Crestwood High. Crestwood High gleamed under the afternoon sun, its spotless hallways and freshly painted walls a testament to its modernity and efficiency. The students, oblivious to the dark presence lurking in their school, enjoyed the lively excitement of the evening basketball game. The gym echoed with cheers as the Crestwood Tigers triumphed over their rivals, a thrilling conclusion to a successful season. After the game, a group of friends, Rachel, Tom, Lisa, and Mike, decided to celebrate their victory with a spontaneous, albeit mischievous, adventure. With the school emptied of its normal bustle and the sun setting, they planned to sneak into Crestwood High to explore and perhaps pull a few harmless pranks. Armed with flashlights and a camera, the friends slipped into the school under the cover of darkness. Their laughter echoed through the empty corridors as they navigated their way through the eerily quiet halls. The bright lights of the gymnasium had given way to the oppressive darkness of the school, amplifying their sense of excitement and foreboding. The group made their way to room 154, a place of recent rumours and disturbances. The room was untouched since the end of classes, its desks neatly arranged and its whiteboard pristine. The friends set up their equipment and began their exploration, joking and whispering in the shadows. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, the atmosphere grew heavier. The temperature seemed to drop inexplicably, and a sense of unease settled over the group. Rachel, glancing at her watch, realised the time and suggested they head out before they got into trouble. But as they attempted to leave, the doors and windows slammed shut with a resounding thud. Panic surged through the group as they realised they were trapped. The lights flickered ominously, casting erratic shadows on the walls. The friends' initial amusement turned to dread as they felt a cold, oppressive presence surround them. "Did anyone else hear that?" Tom's voice trembled as he scanned the room. A guttural wail echoed through the halls, and the whiteboard screen flickered to life, displaying a chilling message. "You are not alone." The friends exchanged terrified glances as the room seemed to close in on them. Desks began to move on their own, and books floated off the shelves before vanishing into thin air. Rachel's flashlight illuminated a dark figure emerging from the corner of the room. It was Mrs. Blackthorne, the vengeful spirit whose legend had haunted the school for years. Her eyes were black voids, like swirling black holes that absorbed all light and hope. Her ghostly form advanced with a deliberate, terrifying gait, her presence filling the room with an overwhelming dread. The friends tried to force the doors open, but they were immovable. The windows were sealed shut with an unnatural force. Their cries for help were swallowed by the oppressive darkness. The walls seemed to close in on them, the temperature dropping rapidly as if they were descending into the bowels of an icy abyss. Desperation set in. Lisa suggested triggering the burglar alarm, hoping that it would alert the authorities and expose their predicament. With shaking hands, Tom managed to activate the alarm, its blaring siren piercing the night and echoing through the empty halls. But the sound seemed to do little to deter the malevolent presence. As the minutes ticked by, the spirit's torment escalated. The ghostly apparition of Mrs. Blackthorne moved through the room with a malevolent grace, her laughter a chilling melody that resonated through the corridors. The group huddled together, their fear palpable as they tried to find a way out. But the entity was relentless. The spirit's laughter grew louder, a sinister sound that filled the halls with an otherworldly echo. The temperature continued to plummet, and the friends felt a biting cold that seemed to seep into their very bones. Every attempt to escape was met with the same cold, oppressive force that drove them back into the room. Rachel, trembling, glanced at her watch once more. Midnight had arrived, and with it, a sense of finality. The spirit's wrath seemed to intensify, her movements becoming more frenzied. The friends could hear the distant sound of sirens, but they seemed to be getting further away rather than closer. Suddenly, a chilling realization dawned on them. Mrs. Blackthorne was not just a haunting presence, she was an enforcer of a terrible deadline. The spirit had marked them as trespassers, and her vengeance was to be exacted before the stroke of midnight. The friends' attempts to escape grew more frantic, their cries for help becoming more desperate. But Mrs. Blackthorne's laughter grew louder and more sinister, a sound that seemed to mock their every effort. Her black eyes sucked in the light as she moved through the room with a relentless pursuit. As the final moments before midnight ticked away, the friends found themselves cornered. Mrs. Blackthorne's ghostly form hovered before them, her rage a palpable force that seemed to suffocate them. The walls of the room seemed to close in, the temperature dropping to a bone-chilling cold. In their final moments, the friends could only watch in horror as the spirit's vengeance reached its peak. Her laughter filled the air, a haunting sound that echoed through the halls and left an indelible mark on their souls. The room seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, a final reminder of the power of the spirit that had claimed them. When the authorities arrived, they found the school empty and silent, the burglar alarm still blaring its futile cry. The friends were never found, their disappearance a chilling mystery that would haunt Crestwood High for years to come. The legend of Mrs. Blackthorne grew, a tale of a spirit who exacted her vengeance on those who dared to break the rules. The school remained pristine on the outside, but its halls were haunted by the restless spirit of a teacher who would not be ignored. The friends' fate became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the consequences of crossing the boundaries of respect and authority. Crestwood High continued to stand as a beacon of modern education, but its dark secret remained hidden from all but those who dared to uncover the truth. The spirit of Mrs. Blackthorne remained a spectral enforcer, waiting for the next transgressor to cross her path. The haunting continued, a chilling reminder of the power of the past and the ghosts that lingered in the shadows, forever bound to the school that had been their final resting place. The final case. In the oppressive gloom of Victorian London, the fog seemed to stretch endlessly, wrapping the city in its ghostly embrace. The year was 1889, and the streets lay hidden beneath a spectral shroud that turned every lamplight into a flickering beacon of dread. The narrow alleys and grand avenues alike were swallowed by the thick mist, each turn a potential encounter with the unknown. Amid this disorienting veil, Detective Edmund Blake, a spectral figure draped in the attire of his former life, tailcoat, waistcoat and fedora, floated silently, his presence both a relic and a haunting. Blake's death had been abrupt and shrouded in mystery. The circumstances that had ended his life remained unsolved, chaining his ghost to the foggy confines of London. For years he drifted through the mist, driven by a restless quest for justice that transcended death. His translucent form glided with an eerie grace, his footsteps never quite touching the cobblestones. On one particularly dense and chill-filled night, the fog was so thick it seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Eliza Thornton, a young journalist with an insatiable drive for recognition, ventured into this nocturnal maze. Her lantern cut through the mist, casting long, wavering shadows against the ancient buildings that loomed like silent sentinels. She'd heard the whispers about Blake's spectral presence and was drawn by a mix of intrigue and the promise of a story that could catapult her career. Eliza's breaths formed icy plumes in the cold air as she navigated the treacherous cobblestones, the slippery stones making each step a cautious venture. The silence around her was thick, almost tangible, and a creeping sense of foreboding settled over her shoulders like an invisible shroud. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted, and a prickle of unease skittered down her spine. It was then that she saw him, a figure emerging from the dense fog, his form faint yet distinct. Detective Edmund Blake appeared before her, a ghostly apparition illuminated by the dim glow of her lantern. His spectral visage was marked by a mixture of determination and melancholy, his eyes reflecting a lifetime of unresolved anguish. "Help me uncover the truth that binds me here," he intoned, his voice a chilling whisper carried by the wind. Eliza's heart pounded as the words echoed in her ears, mingling with the fog that seemed to whisper its own secrets. Determined to unveil the truth behind Blake's untimely death, Eliza embarked on an investigation that led her deep into the dark recesses of London's criminal underbelly. The journey took her through seedy brothels, shadowy alleyways, and abandoned warehouses, each location a testament to the city's hidden corruption. Her inquiries revealed a detective both feared and respected, whose relentless pursuit of justice had ruffled powerful feathers. Blake's investigations had uncovered sensitive issues, including high-profile corruption, marking him as a threat to those who preferred their secrets buried. Blake's ghostly presence was an unsettling yet indispensable guide throughout Eliza's perilous quest. His spectral form would appear at critical moments, offering cryptic clues and warnings. At times, his presence was felt rather than seen, an icy touch on her arm, a ghostly whisper in her ear. One particularly eerie evening, as Eliza scoured a dimly lit library for clues, Blake's form materialized beside her. His translucent fingers hovered over a faded document, pointing to a name that had been previously overlooked, a prominent politician linked to Blake's case. As Eliza delved deeper, the investigation unraveled a labyrinthine conspiracy entwining London's elite. She uncovered a network of deceit involving secret meetings and hidden compartments, revealing the depths to which the powerful would go to protect their interests. The trail led her to a grand, dilapidated mansion on the city's outskirts, its once gleaming facade now marred by decay and neglect. The mansion, a relic of past opulence, held the final pieces of the sinister puzzle. Blake guided Eliza through the mansion's eerie corridors and hidden rooms, his presence a constant reminder of the stakes involved. The mansion was a maze of secrets and traps, each room revealing fragments of the broader conspiracy. As Eliza pieced together the clues, the chilling realization dawned that Blake's murder was not an isolated event, but part of a larger scheme to shield the elite from exposure. In a shadowy chamber deep within the mansion, Eliza stumbled upon a trove of evidence that revealed the identity of Blake's murderer. The chamber was suffused with an oppressive darkness, its walls lined with documents and photographs detailing the conspiracy. Among the papers, Eliza discovered a dossier implicating a powerful politician who had orchestrated Blake's death to silence him and protect his corrupt dealings. The revelation was both shocking and tragic. The politician's motive was rooted in a desperate attempt to conceal his illicit activities. Blakey had been on the brink of exposing the truth when he was silenced. This discovery put Eliza in grave danger, as the conspirators would stop at nothing to safeguard their secrets. The investigation reached its climax in a tense confrontation at the mansion. The conspirators, aware of Eliza's discoveries, prepared to take drastic measures to prevent the truth from surfacing. Armed with the damning evidence, bolstered by Blake's ghostly presence, Eliza faced off against the powerful figures who sought to suppress the truth. The confrontation was a battle of wits and will, with Blake's spectral form providing crucial support. In the end, justice triumphed. The conspirators were exposed, and the truth about Blake's murder came to light. The powerful figures behind the conspiracy were held accountable, their criminal activities brought to an end. With his mission fulfilled, Blake's spirit began to fade from the mortal realm, his quest for justice finally complete. Eliza's life returned to normalcy, but the experience left an indelible mark on her. She had uncovered a dark chapter in London's history and played a pivotal role in revealing the truth. Detective Edmund Blake's memory lived on, not only in her writings, but also in the ghostly tales whispered in the fog-shrouded streets of Victorian London. As the mist enveloped the city once more, Blake's legacy remained a haunting reminder of a detective whose pursuit of Ichom. Justice transcended the boundary between life and death. The ghost in the closet. In the sleepy village of Ravenswood, where time seemed to languish in a perpetual state of twilight, stood an old-fashioned house that had seen better days. Its once vibrant facade was now dulled by the ravages of time, with ivy creeping up its stone walls like the grasping fingers of some ancient entity. The house was nestled on the edge of a dense forest that whispered with secrets of its own, and it was in this seemingly idyllic setting that the true horror lurked. The upstairs bedroom of this house, which appeared charming and quaint at first glance, harboured a small closet in its corner. This closet, a relic of a bygone era, was unremarkable in its appearance, its wooden door scratched and faded, and its interior lined with old, dusty wallpaper that had lost its colour long ago. Yet, it was here, in this seemingly innocuous space, that the true terror of the house resided. Inside the closet, hidden among moth-eaten coats and forgotten toys, was a malevolent spirit. Emily, a child whose life had been tragically cut short. Unlike the innocent spectres often depicted in folklore, Emily's ghost was anything but benign. Her presence was marked by a soft, sorrowful whisper that filled the night with a chilling undertone. At night, a faint, ghostly glow emanated from the closet's depths, casting eerie shadows that danced menacingly across the room. The closet's door, when it moved, did so with an unsettling creak, as if the very hinges themselves were protesting against the intrusion. Emily's spectral form, with hollow eyes that seemed to peer into the very essence of those who dared to look, would manifest from the darkness. Her expression was one of eternal sorrow, but beneath that mournful visage lay a vengeful fury that had been unleashed by her untimely death. The first to encounter the wrath of Emily's ghost were the Hawkins family. Drawn to the house by its picturesque charm and the tranquility of Ravenswood, they were initially unaware of the dark presence that lurked within. The family, Tom, Alice, and their young daughter Sarah, moved into the house with high hopes of a fresh start. The first few nights passed uneventfully, but soon strange occurrences began to unsettle them. The closet door, which had been securely shut, would creak open on its own, revealing only darkness within. A chill would settle over the room, and the air would become thick with an oppressive cold that seeped into their bones. Sarah, the young girl, reported seeing fleeting shadows and hearing whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. Her parents, Tom and Alice, dismissed her fears as the result of an overactive imagination. But the unease within the house grew palpable. One stormy night, as thunder roared and lightning illuminated the room with blinding flashes, Emily's malevolent presence reached its peak. The closet door flew open with a forceful bang, and Emily's ghostly form emerged. Her hollow eyes and mournful expression were the last things the Hawkins saw before they were overwhelmed by a pervasive, icy cold. The ghost retreated into the darkness of the closet, leaving behind an aura of malevolence that clung to the walls. Desperate to rid themselves of the tormenting presence, the Hawkins decided to investigate further. They ventured into the attic, a place they had previously avoided due to its dusty, disheveled state. What they discovered there was both chilling and baffling. A life-size stuffed dog doll, its once cheerful face now twisted into a grotesque semblance of a snarling beast. The doll's eyes seemed to follow them with a predatory gleam, and its presence filled the attic with a palpable sense of dread. The night after the discovery, the Hawkins family was jolted awake by Sarah's terrified screams. Rushing to her room, they found the doll missing from the attic and an unsettling silence enveloping the house. The once cuddly stuffed dog had become an instrument of terror. Its movements were unnatural, swift, and eerily predatory. The doll's once friendly appearance was now a nightmarish visage, its eyes glowing with a malevolent intelligence. In a frantic bid to escape the nightmare, the Hawkins attempted to dispose of the doll. Each time they threw it away, it would mysteriously reappear, its eyes gleaming with renewed malice. The doll, it seemed, was a vessel for Emily's vengeful spirit, and it was through this twisted medium that the ghost exacted its wrath. The terror escalated as the doll claimed victim after victim. Neighbours and friends who came to visit were met with grisly fates, their bodies discovered in shocking and brutal conditions. The doll, though never found at the crime scenes, seemed to be an ever-present force of malevolence. Each attack was marked by an eerie whisper and a chilling draft that seemed to signal the ghost's presence. Faced with escalating terror, the Hawkins decided to leave the house. They packed their belongings and prepared to flee, but Emily's spirit was not ready to let them go. The night before their departure, the doll appeared once more, its eyes gleaming with sinister satisfaction. The family's attempts to leave were thwarted by a series of inexplicable mishaps, and as midnight approached, the ghost's vengeance seemed to reach its zenith. The house, now vacated, fell silent. The village buzzed with rumours and whispers about the house's dark past, but the true nature of the hauntings remained a mystery. The empty house stood as a grim reminder of the terror that had unfolded within its walls. The Mitchell family, eager for a fresh start, moved into the house. Unaware of the sinister history, they embraced the house's charm. However, their excitement quickly turned to dread as Emily's ghostly presence began to make itself known. The closet door creaked open at night, and the spectral whispers grew more pronounced. David, the Mitchell's young son, reported seeing shadows and hearing unsettling whispers. His parents, Mark and Rachel, dismissed these reports as childish fears. The family's initial attempts to dismiss the eerie occurrences were soon overshadowed by the growing terror. One fateful night, as the family gathered in the living room for a movie, David went missing. The frantic search led them to the attic, where the stuffed dog doll lay in wait. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent intensity, and it moved with an unnatural, predatory grace. The Mitchells' attempts to confront the doll were met with unrelenting terror, and the once innocuous toy became a terrifying manifestation of Emily's rage. The Mitchells found themselves trapped in the house. The doors and windows were sealed shut, and the chilling draft of the ghost's influence seemed to penetrate every corner. Their attempts to contact the outside world were thwarted by the ghost's wrath. In a desperate attempt to escape, the Mitchells triggered the burglar alarm, hoping that the blaring siren would alert authorities to their plight. The alarm's shrill cry pierced the night, but the ghost's malevolence only seemed to intensify. The family's cries for help were swallowed by the oppressive darkness, and the doll's malevolent laughter echoed through the halls. As midnight approached, the air in the house grew colder, and the shadows took on a life of their own. The Mitchells' attempts to escape were met with relentless pursuit by the doll, its movements becoming more frenzied and violent. The ghost's mournful whispers transformed into a cacophony of malevolent laughter, filling the house with an unbearable sense of dread. In the final moments before midnight, the Mitchells huddled together, their terror reaching its peak. The ghost's influence was overwhelming, and the doll's predatory presence seemed to be closing in on them. The family's attempts to flee were in vain, and the house became a prison from which there was no escape. When the authorities finally arrived, the house was a scene of chaos. The burglar alarm was still blaring, but the Mitchells were nowhere to be found. The stuffed dog doll lay in the attic, its eyes dimmed, but its presence a chilling reminder of the ghost's power. The legend of the house and its malevolent spirit grew, becoming a cautionary tale in Ravenswood. The house remained vacant, its charm a deceptive facade that concealed the darkness within. Emily's ghost continued to haunt the empty halls, her rage a constant reminder of the price of disturbing her domain. The story of the death dog and its spectral master served as a grim reminder of the dark forces that lingered in the shadows, forever bound to the house that had been their final resting place. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Ghost Riders podcast. We hope you enjoyed the chilling tales and spine-tingling stories we've shared. All stories presented were written by Michael Atencio. Copyright 2021. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out to Mike at mikeghosttrips.com. Until next time, keep your lights on and your doors locked.